Welcome to the first part of a two-part series in building your Fulbright project. My name is Jenny Sullivan. I'm the Assistant Director of the Study Abroad and Fellowship Office. I'm also the primary advisor for all Fulbright applicants here on campus. Today I'm going to be taking you through some general steps to help you choose a Fulbright country and develop a Fulbright project. I'm going to go over a general framework for helping you choose a project, questions to ask yourself, and resources to consider, factors in selecting a topic and country, some special considerations. I'm going to take you through some of the country summaries on the Fulbright website to help you interpret what they're looking for in their Fulbright candidates, and I'm going to tell you how to get started. So the first things you should be thinking about when you're developing your Fulbright project is, how does this fit into my long-term goals? If you don't know yet what your long-term goals are, that's something you should start to think about pretty seriously. You're going to want to demonstrate how your Fulbright project helps you reach those long-term goals and seems like a natural step toward those goals. The next question you want to ask yourself is, how does this meet Fulbright's goals? Remember, Fulbright's whole purpose is to create mutual understanding between cultures. So you really want to think about and be able to articulate, how does my project bring these cultures together and bridge cultural gaps and help the country I will be going to? And another thing you want to think about is, why this country and nowhere else in the whole world? What is it about this country, this culture, that I have to do this project here? Some special things to consider if you're going for the master's degree in particular, or the study research, is, why do I need a one-year or a multi-year program? There are very few Fulbright options for multi-year programs. So if you're going for the master's degree in particular, you'll need to decide, is 1 year going to be enough for my discipline and for what I need for my future goals, a one-year master's program. If you're going to get your master's degree abroad, you need to think about and speak to some of your professors and mentors to understand, is an international education even valued in my field? Perhaps, actually, for my long-term goals and in my discipline, the best education is actually at a U.S. university, and so then it doesn't really make sense for me to get my degree abroad. And then you need to convince the Fulbright commissions evaluating your application, why go to graduate school overseas? What is it about an international degree that's going to best prepare you for your long-term goals? And then you need to describe, why this particular school and no other school? What is it about this school, this university, and the way that they teach and deliver the material, or their unique niche and expertise, or the professors or students you will be working with, that is different from any degree you would earn anywhere else? You also need to think about, how are you going to get involved in the local culture, and what are you going to give back? Earning a master's degree abroad really benefits you, but it might be a little bit harder sell to explain to Fulbright how that's going to benefit the local culture. So perhaps you think about some ways that you're going to get involved in that local culture and give back. And if you choose to do a sort of a hybrid, take a few classes at a university and do a smaller scale research project, why are you choosing that particular route? As a special consideration for the English teaching assistantship, you want to think about, what unique value add do I bring to this teaching experience and to these students? What is something I'm passionate about in the U.S., leadership experiences I've had, or special skills I have that could really benefit me in the classroom and bring something unique to the students I'll be working with? So some things to consider when you're choosing your Fulbright project is, of course, and first and foremost, your discipline, your expertise and the topic What information is missing in your field, in your discipline, that could benefit from some research? Where are the challenges? Who are your potential affiliates overseas? Not companies, I'm sorry, organizations, universities that you could partner with overseas that have a interest or expertise in what it is that you want to study, and so who would make appropriate mentors and partners. What is your interest in the culture and the ability to adapt? If you know yourself well enough to know that you would struggle in a developing culture or developing nation, you should keep that in consideration and not consider those countries. If you've never been overseas before, you might not consider a culture that is widely different from Western culture as your first experience abroad. You should consider your language skills. How much do you know of a language, a second language? How much are you willing to learn? And match an appropriate country and appropriate discipline topic to your language skills. You need to consider your eligibility according to the country summary. Each country has preferences for the types of candidates and the disciplines they're coming from and their level of language, etc. So you should definitely consider that. The competition, that may be one thing you want to consider when you're making final decisions about which country to apply to. How many applicants do they get in a regular year? What would your chances of winning be? And your level of experience. Things not to consider: do they have good weather, good food? Will my friend, family member, boyfriend, girlfriend be there at the same time or nearby? Those are inappropriate. So what comes first? The chicken or the egg? Choosing the country or choosing the topic? Well, it's not quite that easy. The best projects are usually chosen in tandem. I want to take you through a few country summaries so we can understand what the countries are really looking for. Let's start with Poland. So you go up here to, this is the Fulbright website, us.fulbrightonline.org. Click on countries. I'm going to go to Europe. And if you scroll down here, you can get some basic information about the region and your contacts at IIE, the Institute of International Education, which administers the Fulbright. Now I'm going to go up here to Poland. So you'll see right away that Poland has 15 open awards for study or research abroad, and then 15 English teaching assistant awards. Let's start with the open study research. So each country profile is going to have some similar themes here. They're going to tell you the grant period, which in this case for the open study research is 9 months, which makes sense. They're usually an academic year. The candidate profile. They're looking for students wishing to conduct a 9-month research project at any Polish university or research center or organization. So they're telling you right off the bat that they want you to affiliate with an academic institution. Proposals are welcome from candidates in all disciplines with established relationships with the host institution. That's great. They're not really limiting it, but it does say they strongly encourage candidates in the field of science and technology. So you STEM applicants, this might really be someplace you'd really want to consider because they're sort of prioritizing you as applicants. All degree levels are considered. This is interesting because they're saying right here, candidates are advised to consider the long-term effects of their projects on both their respective fields of research as well as on Polish-American academic and cultural relations. They're telling you right there, don't forget, the whole goal of Fulbright is to establish some mutual beneficial understandings and relationships. The Fulbright Commission encourages applicants to familiarize themselves with Poland and its contemporary situation, culture, and educational system before applying. This is a huge clue. If you can demonstrate in your application that you've done these things, you're going to set yourself apart. So doing things like reading local newspapers, and making sure you understand what's going on the top of mind of Polish citizens today is going to be very important. So they will accept recent undergraduates as well as master's and doctoral candidates. And the foreign language proficiency, they're saying it's not required. This is fantastic. Polish language ability should be commensurate with the requirements of the proposed project and affiliation. Plans for language study, if needed, should be included in the application. That's great. So if you are proposing to do a project where you're going to be interviewing locals, you better need to know more of the Polish language. But if you're not and you're going to be affiliated with an English-speaking university, then the level of language you will need for your project is less. They do say that knowledge of Polish will greatly enhance the Fulbright experience and allow for a deeper engagement with the host community. So you better believe that those students who have at least made an effort to start to learn the language will be given higher priority and will be seen as more self-motivated. So even if you don't know any Polish now, I highly recommend that each of my candidates at least start some level of self-study before they apply and continue that study up until they would find out if they were going or not. The more rigorous that self-study is, the more it's informal, like taking classes here at RIT or another local university or community college, the better. So they are accepting independent research projects, but they're not accepting applications for graduate degree enrollment at this time. I am assuming that you would be able to do some sort of hybrid, take a few classes at a local university and do a research project. For the affiliation, it says a letter of invitation from the host institution is required. This would be at the time of application. So you're strongly encouraged to consider affiliations with major universities, research centers, and other organizations. Students wishing to enroll for courses at their host institution must make appropriate arrangements with their host prior to their application. They will support some dependents, so that's great. And then below here they have some more information, other further websites for you to look at, and then a contact, which is fantastic. This is really good to know, to ask sort of specific questions. Maybe even to contact to see if your potential affiliates would be appropriate for the type of award that you're applying for. They're usually very open to answering those questions. If we go look now at the 15 English Teaching Awards, the profile is very similar. It's also a 9-month academic year grant period. They're saying candidates at all degree levels will be considered, but preference is given to recent graduates or current students enrolled in bachelor's and master's level degree programs in science, engineering, math, economics, social sciences, humanities, including teaching English as a foreign language. This is fantastic. This tells me right off the bat that you don't have to be getting an English degree or a communications degree or have training in teaching or a certificate in teaching English to participate. And they're looking for younger students. Looks like says grantees will usually teach undergraduate or master's level local students. This is really good to know. Then you can talk about in your application what you bring to a classroom of older students and adults. It says previous teaching experience is strongly recommended, but it's not required. So you should talk about detailed descriptions of your experience and interest in teaching. So any experience you can get in coaching, mentoring, being a TA would be beneficial for your application for this award. Again, foreign language is not required, But they are saying that prior to your arrival, in order to facilitate deeper engagement, you should learn some, be at least conversational by the time you arrive. So remember, with the English teaching assistantship, you get to choose the country you apply to, but you don't choose your final city and location. The Fulbright Commission places you in a location. So in this case, they're telling you a little bit about that, which is good to know. The Fulbright Commission will place grantees in various departments at Polish universities, matching their undergraduate or graduate fields to the need of the host institution. Positions combine part-time teaching and or assisting, advising up to 20 hours per week. Time will also be reserved for a side independent research project. So this means you are encouraged to, and will be required to, do some sort of culturally immersive, volunteer, language learning, or a small independent research project on the side while you are there in Poland. In addition to classroom responsibilities where you will be assisting and advising a full-time teacher, you will also be asked to give some presentations on topics related to the United States, lead programs in language labs, conduct conversation clubs, tutor, participate in sports, drama, etc. They will help support a dependent, and they have some other websites available and 2 different contacts. I also want to look at, let's look at another country, Mexico. So you'll see that this summary section looks a little bit different. They have 11 Fulbright Garcia Robles all disciplines open study / research awards. This is basically the same 15 that Fulbright had, but the funding is coming from this Garcia Robles organization, so that's why it's called something a little bit different. They have 2 specific awards for graduate degree attainment, so I'm guessing this won't be for graduate degree. This will be mainly for research. Mexico has a unique internship program, and they have 13 awards there, and they have 60 English teaching assistantships here. Let's look on their open awards. So, Mexico in their research is looking for people to do field work in areas of relevance to U.S.-Mexican relations, including culture, economic integration, trade, science and technology, public health, human rights, education. I'm not seeing anything really off the table here. They're especially interested in students in STEM fields and public administration or policy. So students with those majors, you may think about Mexico in particular. They especially encourage applicants in master's and doctoral level programs for their thesis or dissertation research. So the grant program is 6 to 9 months, again usually an academic year, all degree levels. Now here's where things are quite a bit different. Mexico is requiring, they will have different things here. They will say not required, required, recommended, or strongly recommended. Required is strong language that you have intermediate level, which they're equating to 2 years of college level study or the equivalent prior to commencing the grant. So this is prior to arrival in Mexico, not prior to the application deadline this October, which is about a whole year ahead of when you would leave. But they're saying that Spanish language proficiency is really necessary, not only for the development of your project, but also in order to communicate on a daily basis. And higher level proficiency may be necessary depending on the requirements of your proposed project. This intermediate level is really the minimum they want. And you better believe that this is going to be very competitive. With Spanish so widely spoken in the United States, you're going to have several applicants who are fluent. So if you don't know any Spanish right now, this is probably not the best place for you to apply. And I would definitely start brushing up on your Spanish ASAP. Again, the more formal the coursework, the better. So this is only for study research, not for graduate degree enrollment, but you will recall they had 2 awards for graduate degree enrollment listed separately. For the affiliation, they're saying affiliates must secure an affiliation with an accredited Mexican research institution or Mexican university. So this is going to be the first place you're going to check. Secondary affiliations with NGOs are welcome if they're appropriate for your proposal. All right. Students are ineligible if they have spent a lot of time already living and maybe working in Mexico. So that's good to know. Be aware that there are travel warnings in Mexico, and so it has a little bit more information about that here. You will be required to obtain a visa. And this is interesting, a special consideration. Applicants should take into consideration that Fulbright grant covers maintenance and basic living expenses as well as one round-trip air ticket. However, grantees may incur additional expenses that are not covered by the grant, so it's highly recommended to enter the program with some additional savings to cover these expenses. This is not common in many of the country summaries, so I would definitely take this to heart and know that if you're going to apply to Mexico, you will need to have some access to more funds than maybe if you went to another country. I want to take you also to 2 others. Just chose Kenya as an example. Now this looks again different. There's no number listed here before the number of Open Study Research Awards or English Teaching Assistant Awards. What this means is that there are awards available, but the number each year depends on a few things. It depends on the number of quality applicants they get to Kenya and the amount of funding available. In Africa, typically what they'll do is look at the region, a certain region as a whole. So each year, different countries will be receiving awardees. So if one country, Tanzania, let's say, receives a really strong applicant this year, but Kenya doesn't receive very many strong applicants, Tanzania will get an award or 2, and next year Tanzania might not get any, and Kenya might get both of them because people submitted really strong proposals to Kenya. So that's something to keep in mind. The last thing I wanted to show you is the UK and how that is very different. So you will see here that the UK actually only has 2 open research awards, and they actually have then 47 of these partnership awards, which are one award each to go to a specific university, and you can see some of those examples here. 1 Fulbright to go to Cardiff University to earn a master's degree or to take courses. A majority of the UK awards are like this. If we were to click on here, you'll see they'll give you the award profile for just Cardiff University. 1 award is offered to pursue a 1-year master's degree or the first year of a longer master's or PhD program in any discipline at Cardiff. Okay, it's a 9 to 12 month period. These are the types of candidates they're looking for. It doesn't look at particular fields, but rigor in scholarly inquiry and academic and professional excellence. Strong reasons for wishing to pursue the proposed project in the UK and at Cardiff University and nowhere else, etc., etc. No foreign language is required. It's not for independent study research, only graduate degree enrollment. Affiliation applicants are responsible for arranging their own affiliation and must apply for admission to the university according to the relevant university's admission procedures. You're not expected to have your acceptance letter at the time of application, but if you do win the Fulbright, it's conditional upon your acceptance by the university. Here's some further websites to explore and a potential contact. Majority of the UK awards are this type of award connected to a specific university. If you click on the summary of Fulbright and US student awards in the UK, you can see, this is very interesting, how many awards they've had last year and how many applicants they got for these awards. So the 2 open awards they had in the UK, they had 156 applicants for. Not great odds for applying. Cardiff University has 1 award and they had 17 applications last year. Imperial College London has 1 award and had 40 applications. So you can sort of get a sense for the competitiveness of some of these awards. But remember, each one has certain restrictions. So this one only had 4 applicants, but it's only for an award in art or design. And this one's only for a PhD. And again, this should not be the sole way you choose where you're going to apply, because you need to be able to prove to the Fulbright Commissions that you had to attend this particular university and nowhere else. And why? What is it about the university that makes it unique? So Fulbright has reached out to me and given me some information about particular areas that could use more applicants, more stronger applicants, and are some special opportunities. So I'm going to go through some of those quickly with you. In the East Asia Pacific, they would love to have more applicants in general, and they would give more awards if they had more qualified candidates, especially more in the arts. For those wishing to pursue the English teaching assistantship in East Asia, it's important to know that this is the only place really where you apply where they want no side projects. And the ETA must be really serious about teaching and wanting to have a future as a teacher. They need more study/research awards, especially to Brunei, China, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Taiwan. They need more qualified ETA applicants to Indonesia, Laos, and Mongolia, and more graduate degree enrollment applications to Korea and Taiwan. In Eurasia, if you're going to apply to Russia, try to set your projects outside of Moscow and St. Petersburg. And that's a good rule of thumb for any country you apply to. A majority of applicants want to be in the main city centers. If you can propose a project outside those areas, I think you will have your application will receive higher priority. More study and research and ETA applicants needed to all countries in the region except for Russia. In Europe, please consider Eastern Europe. They need more study and research applications in all of these countries. In South and Central Asia, you'll have a better chance at winning the award if you are an ETA and apply to places like Bangladesh or Kazakhstan. It's recommended that you have some background in the local language or Russian prior to your application, but it's not required, and you could start to learn that right now. In these areas, because they're non-traditional study and locations, you must demonstrate some maturity and flexibility. In the Middle East and Africa, they need more applications of all kinds to the Gulf countries like Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and UAE. For Africa, they need more applications, especially to Francophone countries like Benin and Burkina Faso. Also consider Southern Africa, other than the country South Africa. In the Western Hemisphere, Brazil, Chile, Colombia are especially seeking more STEM applicants, and they need more applicants for their Mexico internship and graduate degree programs. So as I mentioned before, one of the things that you could use, one of the tools to help think about your project in the country you apply to are the competition statistics. I showed you one area that you could see for the UK awards, the number of applications versus the number of awards, but that was just for the UK. I'll show you where else you can go. If you click up here in the top right hand corner to statistics, and if you're looking for, let's say, the Open Study/Research Awards, click here, and you can select a region, and you can see for the last 3 years how many applicants they had versus how many awards. So Albania consistently has only had 6 applicants, and 50% of the applicants are winning the awards. This would be a great place to apply to have a better chance of to be more competitive. Now, please do not choose your country based solely on these statistics. This does not do enough, it's not convincing enough in your application for why you have to go to this country, why you have to go abroad to do your research. If you have 2 or 3 excellent project ideas in 2 or 3 different countries and already have potential affiliates, and then you're just trying to decide between them, this might be a good way to help you decide between those 2 final opportunities. So to get started, I would recommend that you check out some past winners. You can see them on the Fulbright website, on our website. You can talk to me, I can connect you with past RIT winners and applicants. I highly suggest that you meet with your professors, mentors, and professionals, other professionals in your field, to get their advice and learn their insight about potential project ideas. And this is going to be the main subject of the next workshop, part 2. I suggest that you visit your academic librarian. Each college here at RIT has an academic librarian in the Wallace Center dedicated directly to that college, is an expertise in your subject area, and can point you to resources directly for you in your discipline. So I think that's a very important appointment to make. Read, read, read. Do research. You're going to need to be reading every journal article in your subject area and looking at the bibliographies of those articles and finding the clues to find more resources in articles. You need to have a broad understanding of the context of the conflict you're trying to, and the challenge you're trying to solve, and it's also going to be the basis of your validity argument, why it's important that you do this research. I suggest that you reach out to the Fulbright country contacts when it's appropriate from those country summaries. And in order to make yourself more marketable, what can you be doing in the next few months? If you want to go for the ETA, definitely do anything you can to get some formal teaching, mentoring, and coaching experience. Be a camp counselor this summer, volunteer, tutor, sign up to be a TA, whatever you can. Get research experience. If you want to do a research project, attend a conference, present at a conference, publish, do some class projects. Focus on your topic area of interest. If you can, study abroad. Even a short-term program over next intersession or spring break will definitely make you more marketable. Begin your formal language study. Commit to a few hours a week. If you can't find a course at a community college or another university or here at RIT, then come to our language lab, or the library has resources that you could use, or buy Rosetta Stone. But the more formal your language education, the better. And pre-immerse yourself in the culture. Read local newspaper articles. Find a local organization. There are many cultural organizations, Greek and Italian and Ukrainian, here in Rochester, and start to attend some of their events and get to know some of the leaders of the community and pre-immerse yourself. Wendy Way, if you haven't met her yet, I want you to reach out to her. And she shared with us in our earlier presentation some excellent resources for building your project idea. Wendy Way is one of the librarians at the Wallace Center. Your academic librarian will do the same thing. So thank you very much for attending. I hope you watch my second webinar in this series, which is more about networking and thinking of the next steps in developing your project and finding an affiliate. If you have any questions, make sure to reach out to me. Again, Jenny Sullivan. My email address is jenny, JENNY, .sullivan@rit.edu. And good luck.